Hi there, and welcome to the Call to Cinema. I am Aaron, and tonight we are reviewing a double feature from Mill Creek Entertainment. Full disclosure, this one was sent out to me, and it is the double feature of The Net and The Net 2.0. Now, there are some really interesting things to kind of discuss when it comes to this. Now, The Net was directed by Irwin Winkler, and he's probably best known as a producer. His last film that he did as a director, I think, was Guilty by Suspicion, which was about the Hollywood blacklist and McCarthyism, starring Robert De Niro. So this was actually the film that he did previously to this. Guilty by Suspicion was the follow-up to The Net. And as far as I can remember, this is the last film that he actually directed. This was back in 1990. Well, this is not the last film he directed, but Guilty by Suspicion was the last film he actually directed. This is one of the few that he did direct. He's more familiarly known as a producer of films, of a lot of films. Trust me, if you look up Irwin Winkler's name, there's a ton of movies that are tied to that. What's really neat about this one is we have The Net on here, which was directed by him, a thriller starring Sandra Bullock, which we'll talk about in a minute, and Jeremy Northam, who's incredible in this, by the way. And we have The Net 2.0 with Nikki DeLoach and Demet Akbag, which is directed by Charles Winkler. And for those that don't know, that is the son of Irwin. So we have a film double feature here, directed one by the father, one by the son, 10 years apart. Now, The Net, it was a pretty popular movie back in the day. Sandra Bullock epitomizes this type of role. When it comes to the every girl role, much in the way that James Stewart could do it back in the Alfred Hitchcock days, he kind of pretty much portrayed the everyman. Sandra Bullock is your 90s version of the every girl, and she does this extremely well. This is a role and a type of character that really, really works to her strengths. She is amazing in this film. So I did something really different. I decided that rather than watch them in the order that they came out in, I was going to watch them. I watched them twice, actually, so I could do the review. But I watched The Net 2.0. I watched the sequel first, and then I went back and watched The Net. Why did I do that? You're probably asking, why would I watch the sequel film? Even though they have nothing to do with one another, except for the fact that they have a basic premise storyline, which I'll get into. Why do I watch the second one first? What would be the reasoning behind that? Well, since I hadn't seen the Net in a very, very long time, and I do mean back in the day when The Net came out, I do remember the TV series kind of slightly. There was a TV series based on the film. I didn't want to watch The Net, which I knew was a fairly successful, fairly popular movie, before I watched the sequel. I didn't want the original to mar what I would think of going into the sequel. Sequels are often thought of as pale comparisons of the films that came before them. And the only way that I could go into this and not kind of Stephen King the review, and by saying Stephen King the review, I mean ever read a good Stephen King book, and then you go and you watch the movie, and you're like, this isn't like the book. You go in because you've got the mindset, you know what the book is. You know what your favorite parts are. You've probably pictured and got it in your mind of exactly what this book should be on the screen. The same with a lot of sequels. Once you see a sequel, especially something that's a movie, something that's extremely popular, and you're going in to watch the sequel, there are certain expectations, there are certain boxes checked in your head that you want to see. There's certain things that you want to, that if they're not there, then your bias against the film is automatically going to be there. It can't be helped. It can't be stopped. It's human nature. So to bypass the bias, I went in and I watched The Net 2.0 first, having little memory of the original Net. And considering I just finished watching The Net again, not more than a few minutes ago, I've like I said, I watched both movies twice. I can honestly say I didn't remember hardly anything about The Net. I remember the episodes of VR5 better than I remember that. This is a deep cut for you guys. VR5, look it up. It's a really cool show with Laurie Singer. Anyway, so, and I was unaware that it was his son that directed the sequel. So how am I going to review them, though? Will I review the first one first or the second one first? Well, first off, let's review the disc itself. This was put out by Mill Creek Entertainment. It was put out on one disc, but it's only 2 films. Quality is good. There's no real compression that I noticed of any type. Now, there is no extra features on this, and I would have liked to see, and I hope that Mill Creek, because they do work with companies that do features now. So I would love to see the net like put out on its own with special features, and even maybe the sequel get some features for that as well, because these aren't movies that are old that you can't go back to, and the actors, some of the actors are, I'm guessing, are pretty accessible if you wanted to dive into it again. It's really cool because you get to see 2 different aspects of the of basically online community here. You get the early internet with the net, and when it's the net 2.0, one of the things she has is this like kind of like personalized like pocket computer, like a Palm Pilot type of thing, with the little stylus and all that. Remember those? Before we had our phones that did all that stuff anyway, and more. So let's do a reverse review. Let's review the Net 2.0 first. The Net 2.0 starts out with Nikki DeLoach. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name right. I'm not quite sure. And she is on the run. It literally starts out as an action movie. It does something that it does that kind of conceit that a lot of like this era films did, where they start you out a few weeks like so long into it, and then it'll flash back. So this ironically has a slight similarity to, and I hasten to say this because I don't want to give the wrong idea for the film, to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, in that she is captured and she's talking to a shrink, and she's pretty much going through how she got up to the point of her being captured. Her identity. She's basically she's a girl. Her boyfriend. She's trying to get her boyfriend to go over to Turkey with her, to Istanbul. She's got a job where she's going to be making $475 an hour, and she's really excited about it. She's had a pretty straightforward, normal humdrum type of life, and she really, really wants to get out there and to do something different. And that's pretty much where the where it starts. She's with her boyfriend at the cafe. We meet him for a couple minutes. He seems, kind of blah, and she decides, she gives him a ticket to go to Istanbul. She's actually paid for it, but he doesn't show up. So she ends up going there herself, and she meets up with somebody along the way. She does this thing, and it drives me at the wall. It really annoyed me in the film. So she's got this huge kind of like computer, like tablet type thing, and pre iPad days. Well, not pre iPad, but you know what I mean, like early tablets things. So she's on the plane and she's talking to a stewardess, and but she's got her bank information. It's open up right on the screen, like her account, all her information, all that type of stuff. And she's just like having this long conversation with the stewardess. Well, all the info. Who does that? I mean, one, you don't put your bank. I don't care what you got to do. You don't do your banking information. One, you don't do it at an airport. You don't do it on a plane. Just putting that out there. As somebody that worked with computers a bit, that's not something you do. So that was really, really freaking me out. Okay, so anyway, we notice, but she doesn't, that all her money is slowly being siphoned out, taken away off of her account. She doesn't notice that till later on. She ends up going to work at this place, and she starts debugging this program for this high security guy, a very mysterious guy. There's like a lot of like guys with guns, and we come to find out that he's an arms dealer, but she doesn't know this at this point. And there's a very friendly like taxi cab guy that's like bringing her around. He'll become pretty paramount in the story. But basically what happens is she's in there for like around 10 or 15 minutes, and they come in and they say, "Who are you?" And she says her name, and she says, "No, you're not. We know you're an imposter. the real girl is at the is at the agency. So she calls the agency, and somebody pretending to be her picks up. From there on, it is a chase. It is a chase movie throughout. Now, this is where you get into the comparison part, which inevitably has to come in there. She is an action star of sorts. Basically, she is a girl that's on the run. She can run buildings and jump and do all kinds of cool action sequences. She fights a bad guy. She gets his gun from him. Gets a knife. There's some really cool action sequences within the film. I do think that the way that the camera work is done at certain times, the editing, really kind of really took me out of it a bit. There's certain sequences that I wasn't sure of. Now, it seems very TV. It seems very much like this would be an excellent start for like a new TV show on the net. And I kind of got a feeling through watching the film that that's kind of what it was. That it was doing its kind of like Net meets 24 type of thing, where she's this really smart computer hacker that's also kind of she can handle herself action wise, and even like kind of ended on like a this might go somewhere else. There may be a sequel. So you got a sequel baitish way to go. As you can tell, I'm trying very hard to really not give too much away. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed it overall. It was a fun little film. And it's an action film. Some of the camera work wasn't that the camera work was bad. It's just I'm not quite sure if it worked for the type of film that it is. How does the lead work? Well, she's definitely a decent. She's definitely a decent actress. She's done stuff since then, obviously, and but I'm not quite sure if I truly bought the kind of computer. Or they went in a different way, I guess. So it wasn't like the computer hacker of like what you're used to in films, is where they're kind of like the more at home, socially awkward. Like she's coming out and she's basically doing, I want to go out and I want to do something. I want to like go to Turkey and finally like live my life. But you don't really, there's not enough time spent with her pre everything happening, or her boyfriend, to really get a good grasp on their characters. So it's a fun film. It's a fun watch. It's a fun little action film, but it's not a film that leaves you kind of like, there's not too much deep thought. It's something that's kind of forgettable after you watch it. That being said, because of that and because of the nature of the film that it is, I could definitely rewatch it again and probably enjoy it, because I wouldn't. There's not a lot that I took away from it that I'm going to remember, and so that works in its favor as well. Now let's talk about the net. In the net, we got Sandra Bullock and Jeremy Northam. So some pretty big heavy hitters right out of the gate. Sandra Bullock plays a hacker that spent the last 4 years of her life really at home. The only one that really in her life is her mom, and her mom has Alzheimer's, so she really doesn't remember her. And the only kind of relationship that she's had was years ago with her psychiatrist, played by Dennis Miller, who we don't meet till later on in the film. But early on, she's in one of those those cyber chat rooms. Remember those chat rooms? Remember the days of the chat rooms, and what were like the AOL chat rooms or Chatropolis or all those things? Remember those places? So she's in one of those places, and basically she's there talking to Cyber Bob and a couple other people, and they're awkwardly kind of hitting on her in a cyber type of way. Like the innocent cyber way back in the early days of the internet. And she's going on her vacation, her first vacation she's gone on in 4 years, basically. And she is sent something through FedEx by one of the hackers there. Basically, they send each other back. She collects viruses because she works for a company where she's a virus buster. We'll call her that. She's a computer programmer. We'll call her the virus buster. I think that sounds more exciting, don't you? Anyway, so virus buster Sandra Bullock is sent something by a guy who notices a pause symbol on the bottom of the screen. And when she clicks on it, and she hits like Control Shift, I think, basically, this glitchy type thing with all this information shows up. And she doesn't pay. She says, "Oh, that must be just a glitch." She says, "I don't really think so." She said, "Let me fly out in the morning, and we'll talk about it." So she said, "Okay, I'm leaving tomorrow, but like if you want to fly out, we can talk in the morning before I leave for my trip." So we see that night that the somebody hacks into the computer, like when he's flying, somebody hacks into the computer program on the plane, and the plane ends up crashing. So we've got a very ominous, shadowy group that's working for this. She goes on her vacation. She's kind of down about her friend being dead, but she's enjoying the sun. And she meets this charming British guy played by Jeremy Northam. And it won't be giving anything away by saying, "Oh, has he ever got bad guy written all over him?" And you know what? He is so smooth, and so he is so good, so very good. Like if this was a TV show, like I know it was a TV show, but if they had done the Jeremy Northam character on TV, and maybe they did, I don't know, I don't remember the TV show very well. The James Marsters played Spike, and was in of course Torchwood as well. Yeah, he would be perfect because there's this kind of smooth charm that those guys have. And I've met James Marsters. He does, in actuality, really have this kind of smooth, charming personality. Jeremy Northam is amazing in this film. Sandra Bullock epitomizes this role. You believe 110%. She doesn't come across at all as movie star Sandra Bullock. She comes across as computer hacker, homebody, shy, disarming Sandra Bullock. And it's brilliant. She does an amazing job in this role. I was blown away. I forgot how good this film was. And let me just put it out there. This is a really good film. It is very suspenseful. It does have a lot of Hitchcockian tropes in it, and don't throw that out very lightly. But you know what? I don't care. I'm going to put it out there. This does have some Hitchcockian elements to it, and it works very well. Now, obviously, some of the technology and all the stuff, it's dated, but still, for what's done, they play with the technology. There's certain things that you can nitpick about, but it is well done. It is well casted. There's not a time in the film where you're 110% sure that everything is going to work out okay, because it doesn't. It doesn't for certain people. Certain people are not going to come out that are around her are not going to come out of this well. It's pretty obvious who the main bad guy is. I won't say it, but I'll just put it this way: you're going to figure out who the bad guy is. It's going to be so easy, and I don't mean Jerry North. I mean the guy behind the shadowy guy behind the scenes. Yeah, you're going to figure that out pretty quickly. But honestly, that doesn't take away from it. It is, whereas the second one seemed to be just to go for the chase and pretty much not deal with the characterization. We've learned enough about Sandra Bullock's character and her life pre all this happening to her and the people around her. And the people are introduced much more organically in the original net. That I can say I felt for her, and I felt for the people that were affected by this hellish experience that she was going through. I felt bad for the Dennis Miller character who was going through hell because of this. He wasn't quite sure if he believed her or not. He comes off as a kind of a Dennis Miller type, a smarmy kind of a guy, and a kind of slimy at the beginning. But there's more to him than that, and you start to see more to him. There's just one sequence, and we know Jared by this point we're sure, and we know Jared Northam's a bad guy. We see him kill somebody, and he is going to kill her basically on the boat when she kisses him, and they end up making love. And afterwards, they're lying there on the boat, and she starts to she's nervous, so she starts to nervously babble, which just makes perfect sense for her character. And she starts to talk, and she mentions her mom and the Alzheimer's and all the stuff that she's going through. And although Jeremy Northam is this, he's the bad guy. He's a killer. He portrays so much on his face when he's listening to her that nobody in this film, in my opinion, aside from maybe some secondary characters in the background, comes off as one-dimensional. He doesn't come off as just bad guy, hacker, assassin, Jeremy Northam. He comes off extremely good in this film. He's a guy that's into this deep, but in his own weird, twisted way, he really does care about Sandra Bullock. So he has kind of to fight that demon on what to do. How does it play out? Well, honestly, if you haven't seen The Net by now, I recommend that you see it. This is the 2-pack right here, The Net and The Net 2.0. No features, but both films are on here. It will not. I think for me, honestly, The Net 2.0 is a bonus feature. The Net, that's your key right there. But it's great having them both. I kind of want the series now too, so I hope Mill Creek puts out the short-lived series down the road. Anyway, is this Call to Cinema approved? If it was just in Net 2.0, I don't know. But I see this as a bonus. I see this as the diamond. So in The Net, with the bonus film of The Net 2.0, it's going to get the approval stamp. This was a really fun time, and I really enjoyed watching this. I'm Aaron. This is the Call to Cinema. Thank you so much for watching, and if you are watching this, please do the whole like, share, and subscribe thing. I really enjoy doing the reviews, especially on films like this that really, really make me happy when I finish them. I was so happy. I enjoyed The Net 2.0. It was okay. It seemed like, like an average, like kind of like a TV watching experience type of thing. But by the time I finished The Net, I was grinning from ear to ear. I had really enjoyed myself. Hopefully you will too. The Net and The Net 2.0 from Mill Creek Entertainment gets the stamp because Sandra Bullock, you made me remember why I was so in love with you in the 90s. You're awesome. I'll see you guys later, and for the next time, I got some other stuff we're going to review, and it's going to be fun.